What's up, everybody? Big Wheel, K-pop for life, coming back at you. And I recently had the displeasure of watching a K-Buzz video. And in this said video, actually, I don't really hate K-Buzz as much as everybody else seems to. I hate how they blow shit out of proportion. But that being said, they could keep people somewhat informed of actual events occurring, even though actual events in K-pop tend to be few and far between, and most of the time it's just gossipy teenage bullshit. But this was an interesting story, so I looked a little further into it, and it made me think. It's good sometimes to challenge our assumptions. So we're going to talk about a Chinese producer who said basically that K-pop is going to cause its own destruction in today's episode of Kpop Rantz.
Do you feel the vibes?
I know, right? The background, right? I turned my camera around and I put a strip of LED lights on. Fucking high quality content right here, guys. You have no idea. Okay, it was so hard to reach over to a controller and push a button for those lights that have been set up for like 2 years already. I was never use them. But I just wanted to do something a little different. I got bored. So recently in a speech, why he's giving a speech and who, I don't fucking know, but his name's Billy Ko, K-O-H. And he gave a speech to an audience, expressed his views in the entertainment industry in Asia, and specifically about K-pop. He said that the development of K-pop, and this is like broken English, so I'll try to roughly translate into real regular English. The development of K-pop, meaning the growth of K-pop, is not sustainable. What else did he say? If it doesn't make any changes, K-pop will probably destroy itself. So if we just stop right there before we continue, that's a big statement. And I've had similar thoughts myself, not so much in the destroy itself aspect, but in the logical conclusion of anything like this Hallyu wave, or however the hell you say that, the K-pop wave. It's reminiscent of the British invasion back in the day, right? Back in the 50s and 60s with like the Beatles and the Monkees, etc. In that, it was a huge explosion onto the scene, right? It made a lot of money. All of a sudden, everybody jumps on the fucking bandwagon. The hype train gets rolling, barrels through a few years at full speed, and then starts to lose some of its steam. And then you still get a lot of groups out of England. You know, later you think about it, you got Spice Girls, you get Sting, you get a ton of people from the industry that grew out of that explosion, but the hype gets pulled back. The elation, the sense of like, wow, this is larger than life and I'm part of something big, tends to go away. And that is inevitably what's going to happen with K-pop. It's the inevitable conclusion, and that's just the way it is. But K-pop won't go away. It's just going to, I don't want to say shrink. It will shrink in terms of its hype and popularity internationally. But I think it'll shrink back towards like an Asian market, and then shift its appeal back to that versus the appeal it's attempting to appease now, which is the Western international tastes. But it was interesting because I think in many ways that's what he meant. But he also goes on to say, basically, he went on to say that K-pop idols have only a few boring old dances. The music does not seem to be as creative as it once was, and the idol's popularity is largely dependent upon looks. The last statement is dumb. I'm sorry. The last statement is just dumb, and it shows sort of a level with this guy of maybe a little bit of like saltiness that he's not, you know what I mean? Like maybe he harbors a little resentment for how popular K-pop is and Chinese, whatever he's involved, I'm assuming Chinese pop or Chinese rap or something. Maybe it's something like that. That's kind of what I get from that, because I think anybody would look at anybody who's famous, anybody who's in a position of fame, who's in front of the cameras. Looks are important. Bottom line, right? Now, looks are also subjective, so you may not think certain people are attractive, but in the grand scheme of things, a large number of people find most of these idols attractive, and there's a lot of people that don't. But looks are important, and looks are important across any spectrum of the entertainment industry. Look at Hollywood. Look at fuck that. Look at I watch international stuff. I watch Vietnamese pop. I watch Chinese stuff, and you don't see many ugly people. You see the pretty faces, because pretty faces and sex sell. That's just the way it works. Nobody wants to look at ugly people. That's why, one of the many reasons why I'm not bigger on the YouTube than I am, because I look like this. So I completely disagree with him on the looks thing at the end of that statement. I think that was a dumbass statement. It kind of sounded like maybe he's a little salty on the fact that K-pop is much larger than C-pop or whatever the fuck he's involved in China. And I mean, because let's just fucking use common sense. If 99% of the time, if you want to be famous, if you want to be in Hollywood, if you want to be a musician, if you want to be an idol in K-pop, you want to be in K-dramas, you want to be on fucking Russian TV, I mean, they're not gonna hire you if you're not attractive. It's just the way it is, right? Whatever. I'm not going into that whole argument, but that's just sort of the norm, right? If you want to be a public figure, a public face, if you want to be used to sell product, to sell merchandise, to sell music, whatever it is, good looks and sex appeal sell. Period. That's just the way it is. I challenge anybody. If you're at a job interview and you're interviewing two people, and one of them is gorgeous or extremely hot if he's a dude or whatever you chicks say, and the other one is just a dog, right? And they have the exact same credentials. Which one you gonna hire? You gonna hire the pretty one, because why not, right? Why would you want to look at something ugly, or would you rather look at something pretty all day? That's just the reality of human nature. But that being said, again, that was a dumb statement, because of course their looks are important. They're idols, right? The other part about the same old dances, as well as the music, does not seem to be creative. I don't really, I see a lot of the same dances, but I also see a lot of new dances. From my perspective, I do enjoy when they have solid, good choreography, but I don't really care about the choreography as a whole. I know some people do. I tend to latch on to like a specific thing in the choreography, and that's where my mind goes. Like, I wait for that one thing, right? Like A-Pink's I'm So Sick video, that when they first hit the chorus, like, and they do this thing, like, that's all I care about is that move right there. I don't care about the rest of it. But that's just my brain. So I don't think that the dancing or the dance moves are limited. I know that the trainees tend to be taught like a specific set of dance moves that they have to learn, and they have names for them, and then they implement them in their things based on those names, which is extremely efficient, and I kind of like that aspect. And I know that there's a ton of dance studios, like, what is it, 1 million dance, I don't know the exact, there's a ton of dance studios over there, and choreographers that work and create awesome new dances all the time. And I don't really agree with that statement. But when he does say the music does not seem to be as creative, I 98.999% agree with this, because, well, so it's twofold. The bigger groups, right? The Red Velvets, the Blackpinks, your BTSs, those groups, right? The big threes, Twice and stuff like that. They tend to make music that appeals more to an international or Western audience, at least in their main releases off the album, like the ones they make videos for. Sometimes the rest of the album can sound completely different, but if we're just talking about the one that the bulk of people will see, the not the real hardcore fans, but just like the casual fans, that's who they're trying to appeal to. Strike while the iron is hot. I get that. But yeah, it's absolutely become very watered down and lost a lot of its creativity, because if you go back in the day, and this is a whole nother video I've actually already made, but I haven't released it yet. Second gen K-pop And at the end of first gen K-pop, that shit was fearless. Like they would just be like, yeah, you know what? The last song we did a sexy concept. Fuck it, let's do a doo-wop retro concept. We're gonna get big bouffants. We're gonna put 50s cars everywhere, and we're gonna be in a diner doing some fucking doo-wop. They didn't care. They were just like, you know what? Let's throw throw the fucking shit at the wall and see what sticks. And that's what they did. And I love that about K-pop because every time they had a comeback, it wasn't just like. My 8:30 alarm. Every time they'd have a comeback, you didn't know it was like, oh, it's a cute concept. Oh, it's an innocent concept. Oh, it's a sexy concept. Oh, it's a girl crush concept. That's it. Sometimes you get a horror concept now. Before it was like, you know what the fuck they were gonna throw at you. It was random and it was awesome and it was so different, especially during that honeymoon phase when you're into K-pop, when everything is just brand new and fucking amazing. So I will agree with that. That one statement definitely rings true. The creativity has been stifled, most likely by management and upper echelons of record labels saying, hey, make this sound like Tropical House, right? And now the new thing is sort of like this weird like Caribbean Bollywood sound. I don't know. That being said, there are a few groups that are still doing their own damn thing, right? G-Idol's Han alone, that has second gen sound written all over it. Barry Good's that Apple Sagwa song, while it's not the best song in the world, that just reeks of second gen K-pop, right? It's just like, fuck you, fuck international shit. We know that we're not going to appeal to them ever, so we're just going to appeal to our home base. Like this is what we came from. This is the roots. And I personally love that. Like, I've listened to that song way more than I've listened to some of the other generic shit that's come out. Oh, Lord. Then he talked about BTS. And I don't know if he just didn't think or what, but as usual, what he had to say about BTS wasn't the most positive, ball-licking, dick-stroking thing you could say. So the ARMY got mad. And he basically said that they're not popular in China, so whatever. I mean, if a quarter of China likes BTS, that's a lot of fucking people. So I can't speak to that. I have no idea what the numbers are for sales or fandom or the Chinese army or whatever you want to call them. So after that, he kind of went into talking about his personal views and stuff on Korean producers. And he said that while they're good, he feels basically that they're sort of stymied and stagnated by, you know, strict rules and controls from people above them. And I think that's probably a true thing. You know, I mean, the goal is to make money. It's a business. I understand that. But the goal is also and should also be the fact that it should be trying to move the art form forward, maybe in a new direction, or recapture what it once was in a new way. And if you're just doing the same thing over and over and over again, you absolutely will burn out the genre because people will get tired. People are fickle, especially in the West. I mean, that's what we do. We consume and we move on. Like a field of fucking locusts. It's like what we're born to do half the time. It's like, oh yeah, sweet, new pop culture stuff. Look at this bandwagon. I'm going to jump on this shit. And then, you know, it starts emptying. You jump off to the next thing. That's just the way it is. I don't know if it's a cultural thing a lot of the times. And I don't know if these Korean producers really recognize that. I wonder sometimes. I think certain ones do. People that maybe have spent more time in the West or maybe have somebody from the West in a big group. Like, I think somebody like JYP might understand it. But even then, he tends to take twice and stuff and pander them more to the Japanese audience than he does to the rest of the world. But I definitely think that a lot of these producers and the people that are responsible for putting out or creating new music and new concepts and stuff like that, I have no doubt that many of them are held back and put on a leash and not able to fully explore maybe some new artistic avenues that they would like to explore because of the restrictions from people above them who just say, no, this right here, you put out some shit with Tropical House, we gonna make money. And obviously that's not always the case because there's a shit ton of them that are crap that nobody's ever even heard of from groups. You're like, who the fuck is Happy Juice? You know what I'm saying? Who is Lemon Strawberry? I mean, this one hurts me because I love them, but who is Barry Good? Most people don't even know who the hell Barry Good is, and they've been around forever. So yeah, like I agree with that statement from him. He also stated that the real trouble with K-pop is that it needs a breakthrough. The translation is strange. I'm assuming, this is just me assuming, so I might be wrong, but I'm just going to ramble about it like I'm 100% correct anyway, that when he says breakthrough, based on the context and how he's talking, he's more or less referring to it needs some kind of a hit, big giant hit song that appeals to the whole world, that brings it back. And I mean, are you gonna? What's the likelihood you're gonna have another Psy Gangnam Style? You know what I mean? Because I mean, really, that was the catalyst. That's watching Psy Gangnam Style because it was like, whoa, what's this shit? This is dope. Is what put Lehigh It's Over in my recommended on YouTube, and then I was hooked from that moment on. So the chances of having another giant fucking hit, like you've had a ton of big hits, right? You've had a ton of big hits from BTS. I mean, Momoland's Boom Boom was a huge hit internationally, and a few other ones that have been really, really big, but none of them have been as big as Psy in terms of overall impact, right? Like BTS has had a ton of really, really big songs. I think they had a song that passed Psy, but it was after the exposure to K-pop was, already on this ascension. I don't think BTS nobody in K-pop would be as big as they are now without Psy. I don't think it would make any sense to not recognize that. That's no knock on BTS or anyone else. But without Psy doing Gangnam Style, K-pop would not be in the state that it's in now. It would not have got that explosion of interest that started drawing people initially into it, that's built it to where it is now. And then it's sort of the torch has been passed to groups like BTS and stuff. So yeah, those are some things that he said that were kind of just dumb. Then he also started saying some dumb shit about how he thinks that, it's not impossible for Korean producers to make hits like Taylor Swift and Justin Bieber. It's like, wait a minute. First off, those fucking pretty much like every pop song in the world is made by like two damn guys, and they're like Swedish dudes or something. And that includes a lot of K-pop songs because the record labels and producers and whatnot have reached out to them and they've wrote songs for them. So it's kind of dumb. Like, I don't know. I came to K-pop, and I think a lot of people initially came to K-pop because they're sick and fucking tired of the Biebers and the Taylor Swifts and all this fucking garbage that comes out. All the songs sound the same. Go on YouTube and look up pop songs that sound the same. And I know that there's a lot of K-pop songs that do too, but there's a lot. I mean, they sound they still like fucking identical, or like the beats slow down a little bit. It's a whole different video. Hate Western pop. But K-pop has slowly begun morphing into that, and there's still a bunch of groups that resist it and or just don't because it's not what their group is made up like. Like A-Pink will never appeal to an international audience. Cosmic Girls will never appeal to an international audience. BTOB, BAP, they'll never appeal to an international audience. And I think that's a good thing. It's not that I don't want them to have success. I don't want their unique and different kind of content and other groups like them to be watered down while chasing after the almighty dollar. And in this guy's case, I mean, while I think a lot of what he had to say was interesting, most of it was just, I don't know. I sensed a lot of jealousy in his content, in a lot of what he was saying, or just maybe just felt the need to shit talk for whatever reason, or he just hates pop music. Because again, I don't know what the fuck the guy does, and maybe he's more of like a hip hop guy because whatever, he just has a disdain for pop. I don't know, but I think it's important sometimes to examine these kind of things and sort of reflect on K-pop as a genre as a whole, it's a big part of my life, right? I mean, I love K-pop. I love everything about it. The personalities of the K-pop artists is what makes it a deeper, better experience, because you don't really get that with any other artist that I've ever encountered in any other country or culture. They do such a good job of really like making you feel like you're in this little world they have, and letting you look through their fishbowl basically. But and again, a lot of the stuff the guy said was kind of dumb. Some of it was I can understand, but I mean, as usual, people made a big deal about it, or they went into his thing and like shit posted against him because he said one thing about the army. Because who fucking cares? I think it is important to look at these kind of things and to take these opinions and to sort of reevaluate once in a while. And in the case of K-pop, I know there's a lot of people that are sort of disenfranchised. I see tons of people over the past 2 years, especially 2017, 2018, more and more people are saying this whole fucking year sucks. All the songs suck. I'm just bored with it. It's awful. It sounds all the same. It's not what it used to be. So do you guys think that K-pop is heading for a disaster? Or do you think it's probably just going to be okay? I'm curious what you guys think in the comments below. I will respond to you. I respond to almost everyone because I love talking to you guys. You're essentially my only friends. I'm that sad. Don't forget to subscribe. And as always, keep on popping, K-poppers. Remember, it's not a trend. It's a lifestyle. Deuces.